Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of my question and answer video. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, then just click on the link here above my head. And if you have seen part 1 and you're ready to go for part 2, who am I to stop you? Okay, so this next question is from two people, Nissa and Amin. Why Rabat as opposed to other cities in Morocco? I started off in Marrakesh and I've got to be honest, after about 3 or 4 days, I found Marrakesh really emotionally tiring. If I'd had to stay in Marrakesh, I wouldn't have stayed in Morocco for 10 years. I actually think Marrakesh is a bit of a problem for Morocco. It presents a negative image in a way that Moroccans don't really realize. And Marrakesh is just a place where anybody who sells anything just wants to get as much money out of you as possible. And I found that as a place to live in long term to be really tiring and depressing and stressful. I don't know how offensive that's going to sound to people who live in Marrakesh, but there you go. It's not my favorite city. I had an opportunity to come to Rabat and teach here, so I took that opportunity. And I just find Rabat to be a really calming, relaxing, functioning city that doesn't put pressure on you. I would say to anybody who is thinking of becoming an expat and living in Morocco, to go to the 6 big cities of Morocco, which is Tangiers, Casablanca, Rabat, Fez, Marrakesh, Agadir, I guess that would be the 6th one, and see which one works for you, because there is a city in Morocco for everybody, and you've just got to find which one fits you. I was really lucky. Rabat was the 2nd city that I went to, and I just fell in love with it straight away. Okay, this is from Otman. What are the main differences between the Morocco that's advertised online and your experience of it? In a few words, I think when people imagine Morocco, they think Marrakesh. Camels, sand. I think it's really unfortunate that people's experience of Morocco is pretty much limited to Marrakesh. Marrakesh is as much of Morocco as London is of the United Kingdom. You go to London, you've not seen the United Kingdom. You've seen London. You go to Marrakesh, you have seen nothing of Morocco. Then there is this tendency in the West to see all Arabic countries as being exactly the same. You can't drink alcohol, everybody prays 5 times a day, women don't have any rights. I've experienced 5 Arabic countries now, and I can honestly say that each one of those 5 countries are very, very different. And I think that would surprise a lot of people in the West. How do you find Morocco today if you compare it to when you first came here 10 years ago? When I first came here 10 years ago, the vibe that I got from Moroccans was the country hoped that it would improve. It wished that it would improve, but I don't think it really had all the confidence that it needed to believe that that change, that development, that success was going to happen. 10 years later, where we are now, the Moroccan people here are extremely confident and proud about the country as it is now and where it is going in the future. So we've moved from this hope for the future to a belief in the future. That, I would say, was the biggest change in mentality that I've seen here in Morocco. And it's come from 2 things. COVID-19 was a big game changer here in Morocco because Morocco handled COVID-19 perfectly, especially when you compare it to its European neighbors of France, Spain, Italy, and the United Kingdom. Before COVID, Morocco always had this feeling that it was not as good as its European neighbors. It always felt a little bit overwhelmed by the success of Europe. And then COVID came along and Europe completely and utterly failed at managing COVID and Morocco did a fantastic job. I've done quite a few videos about my time in Morocco during COVID, and I recommend you go and watch those videos. It'll give you some idea of how wonderful Morocco handled COVID. So I think that gave Moroccans this idea of like, whoa, we can do something very well that the Europeans can't do very well. And then the second thing was the World Cup. Morocco just went from hoping that it could do very well in the World Cup to showing itself to be one of the greatest football teams in the world. The Moroccan experience of the last World Cup really encapsulates everything about the last 10 years of Morocco. Because when the World Cup started, Morocco would like to believe it could do something. By the middle and towards the end of the tournament, it knew it could beat Spain. It knew it could beat Portugal. Having that plausibility of being a success in the World Cup was something that I think really helped Morocco over time to see itself as being a truly wonderful country that it is, a very powerful country. All of which brings me to my next question, which is from Audio Artistic, which is, how do you see Morocco in the next 10 years? We've gone in Morocco from this hope of success to this belief in success. That process is just going to get even more strong, and it's going to be done in a quicker period of time. What we've managed to do in Morocco in 10 years, I mean, just the next 10 years, that the achievements, the growth is going to be so much more than it was in the last 10 years. We're going to get more modern technology here. They're already talking about installing 5G. They're going to be doing that in preparation for the World Cup in 2030. In fact, there are lots of things that are going to happen because of the World Cup in 2030. They're talking about more infrastructure, better forms of transport. Morocco already has a high-speed train. They're definitely going to extend that right the way down to Marrakesh. But I think also Morocco is going to have a development of its liberal views. This is going to be a very difficult thing for Morocco to handle, particularly the government and the king, because there's a balancing act that needs to happen here in Morocco between being more modern, more tolerant, more open-minded, more Western, shall we say, against more traditional, religious, but also family values, community spirit. And it's about balancing all of those things while still feeling that progress is being made. So I think there's going to be a lot of progress, but I think there's going to be pushback. But I have to say, I don't think the pushback is going to be that successful. Morocco is on a path, and it is going to become more westernized, more liberal, more modernized. All that religious element is going to do is stop that progress from happening quickly. I think we're also going to see an expanse of public services here. Again, the king, the government are already talking about improving the health service, improving the education service. And then finally, as somebody who's an English teacher, this is obviously something that's very dear to me. We are going to see an expanse of English. Again, it already is happening here in Morocco. I think if you are a French speaker in Morocco and your social network, your friends, your school, your family, everything is in French, I think you don't really fully understand how much English is already in this country. But you will eventually find that. It will become apparent to you, and it might come too late. So I would say to anybody, if you don't speak English or your English is not really good enough, you need to learn English very quickly, certainly before the World Cup happens, because this country is going to be flooded with tourists from Japan, Germany, Australia, Russia, and the connecting language is not going to be French. So if you want to get your business up and running and be very successful in the lead up to the World Cup, you need English. Okay, and last question from Zach. Are you planning to spend the rest of your life in Morocco? Never in my life have I ever planned something for my life. My philosophy has always been plan for the short term, dream for the long term. And that's something I'm not going to stop doing now just because I'm old. I've built up quite a good reputation amongst people of Rabat to teach English. And I have a beautiful home. I live right near the ocean. It's perfect. So for the moment, everything's fine and I intend to stay here. One thing I can tell you is that I do not imagine I will ever go back to the United Kingdom to live. Okay, that's it. Those are my answers to your questions. I hope you found this video interesting. If you're interested in any of the things that I do, if you need any help with your English, get in contact with me. It would be great if you would consider buying some of my books. All the links are in the little description box thing below the video. All right, see you in the next one. Bye-bye now.